I am no stranger to trauma. I have witnessed it, I have studied it, and as a chaplain serving seniors in the Bay Area who are economically disadvantaged and are largely people of color, I minister and engage with it daily. And in my own life, I am a survivor of what many call complex trauma. And so I have also lived it. When I first felt that pesky call to pursue ordained ministry, it was because of the prophetic healing that I first felt firsthand in my home congregation of First Unitarian Philadelphia. I felt called to share that incredible sensation, felt called to bear witness to the pain in the world and to help transform it into healing. As part of my journey into ordained ministry, I was taught by several people that the most effective healing ministry is one grounded in the scars of our past and not the wounds of our current pains. In preaching, in particular, we were told to share from our scars, not our wounds. We are told that sharing from our scars allows us to speak with intention, to engage issues in pain in ways that won't lead to hurting ourselves or others. Sharing from our scars helps us to feel more removed from our traumas, and it helps our responses be less volatile, more reasoned. Approaching with our scars and not our wounds helps to promote our safety and the safety of others we engage. It helps us to recognize and manage our triggers. It helps us to protect ourselves from future harm. Scars, not wounds. Some of those reasons I can agree with. But the trouble is, it can sometimes be hard to distinguish between the scars and the wounds. And sometimes our scars still hurt. Anyone that's had a tattoo knows that. And sometimes we have no idea that certain wounds are there. I don't have any medical or nursing experience, but I'm pretty sure we can't treat a wound without acknowledging it first. We can't understand the intensity of the pain, of the harm, of the grief, of the fear, the anger, the suffering, if we don't bear witness to those wounds. When I focus solely on my scars, it becomes easier for me to ignore and diminish the pain, the intense pain of the wound I felt. When we focus on our scars alone, it becomes easier for us to let our engagement of the pain be fleeting and our commitment to the healing fade away like that scar. When I'm told to speak from my scars and not my wounds, it feels like my pain doesn't matter, that my wounds aren't welcome. So in order for us to truly understand, for us to remain committed to healing the wounds of the world, we sometimes need to listen and share from our wounded places. We need to value the intensity of what is present and create space in our communities and hearts where we can bear witness to the pain our siblings feel, to the hardships they are encountering, to the raw fear and anger that those of us who are wounded are entitled to. We need to create space not just for our responses to trauma, but for our reactions to them. If we let ourselves become more open to listening and sharing from those wounded places, how we understand each other, I've noticed it shifts too. Rather than the more measured or palatable sharings we understand with our heads, we also open ourselves up to the vulnerable and charging sharings we understand with our hearts. We are seeing this today with the students of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, who are not waiting or shying away because the trauma is so fresh, but are entering openly and expressively, They know that to wait until the wounds become scars is to let our understanding, our acknowledgement of the pain, and our recognition of our responsibility to move from harming to healing fade away. Not this time, their actions say. This time, everyone needs to know the intensity of what we really feel. And their way was paved by activists before them, by those national treasures who sit in this chairs today. They are not the first and they are not the last. And I'm not saying that everyone needs to go and be traumatized or experience secondary trauma by supporting someone in a state of pain. There are those of us with wounds who have a right to say when and how we want to be engaged. But I am inviting us to stop disregarding those wounds, to let them sometimes be the start of our connections to one another. This week we will have two groups, meeting on Wednesday night. One group will be a people of color group, a group for those of us who identify as people of color to come together and share not only the traumas and wounds, but the healing, the power, and the joy we have in being who we are. And then we'll also have another group, a group for our white allies who want to learn how to listen, who want to learn how to listen to the shares that come from those wounded places, from those scars, who want to know how to be allies to the people of color in our community. Ignoring our wounds makes it easier for people to ignore the intensity of the harms that occur. Waiting until our wounds turn to scars lets our world take its time in responding to suffering and pain. But being willing to share and listen to both our scars and our wounds lets us become more aware of what we need from each other and how we are all called to transform pain into healing.